Welcome to Toronto. In the last episode, we explored Toronto's East End, Riverdale Park and Riverside, East Chinatown, Leslieville, the beaches, Little India, and Greektown on Danforth. Today, we're heading to the West End. The West End of Toronto is largely made up of Little Italy, Liberty Village, Parkdale, Roncevalles, the Junction, and iPark. This is where Toronto's industrial past, immigrant communities, and creative economy overlap. These neighborhoods sit at different stages of the same story, from former factory districts becoming technology hubs to historic Main Street that resisted overdevelopment, to public parks that continue to shape where people choose to live. The Italian community that built this neighborhood largely moved to the suburbs decades ago, but the neighborhood has held its commercial aesthetic even after the move. The restaurant strip and cafe patio on College Street still look very much Italian. You might even think you're in Italy. There's still many Italian clubs and cultural institutions present here today, and there's an increasing overlap and influence from the nearby Portuguese community. Every June, Taste of Little Italy transforms College Street into one of Toronto's largest street festivals, demonstrating how neighborhood identity has become an economic asset. This place is perfect for that social butterfly that is always going out and loves the city's nightlife. The Little Italy neighborhood spans along College Street, starting roughly from Bathurst Street and extending west to Ossington Avenue. And along Ossington Avenue is an area in Toronto renowned for its vibrant atmosphere that also captures the essence of the city's creative spirit. Very well recognized as one of Toronto's coolest neighborhood strips, Ossington is well known for its concentration of independent restaurants, boutiques, cocktail bars, and live music venues. It's an hotspot for locals as well as for visitors looking for an unforgettable visit to Toronto. An artsy and hip community near the lake with red brick, steel, and glass making up for the facades of the building, Liberty Village has been recognized as a mecca for artists, marketing professionals, film producers, and other creative professionals. It's one of the densest residential neighborhoods in Toronto without a subway stop. And it gentrified on the back of converted factory lofts and a demographic that was willing to trade transit access for space and character. Former industrial warehouses and factories have been converted into open concept lofts for live workspaces with gyms, art galleries, yoga studios, and cafes on street level. The neighborhood's proximity to downtown, with a 20-minute commute via streetcar to the financial district and a few minutes walk from the fashion district or from Lakeshore, is one of its major advantages. Liberty Village's industrial park is still very much visible in the preserved brick warehouses along Liberty Street. The Toronto Carpet Factory is one of the city's best examples of industrial buildings being converted into creative spaces. Latest news is that this building will soon be turned into a 37-story tower. The Liberty Market building reflects the neighborhood's transition from manufacturing to retail and office space. Now housing restaurants, cafes, boutique stores, and creative offices, it still maintains much of its historic characters from its early 20th century industrial past. One thing you hear quite often from those that live in this neighborhood is the constant complaints about traffic situation. And I fear they were not exaggerating. Granted, this was in the evening around closing hours, but I couldn't help but wonder, is this closing hour traffic? Is this summertime traffic? Is this FIFA-induced traffic, or is this just everyday regular traffic? If you have your eyes on this neighborhood and looking to commute via car, you probably want to keep this in mind.
Attention eastbound passengers. This train arriving on platform 4 is your 1736 eastbound train headed to Union Station.
Exhibition GO Station serves as the neighborhood's primary rapid transit connection, despite the absence of a subway station. And I will attribute this to part of the reason this neighborhood developed rapidly. In just a few minutes on foot, you can reach Exhibition Place, BMO Stadium, the RBC Amphitheatre, Erna Care Centre, Hotel X, Ontario Place, Trillium Park, and the Martin Goodman Trail along Toronto's waterfront. So this neighborhood is very much centrally located. You typically will find many young folks living here. A few minutes walk from Liberty Village up north on King Street, or in my case, a short ride on the 404A streetcar will bring you towards Parkdale. Parkdale has been a lot of things. It was a prosperous Victorian suburb, then a rooming house district, then a community with significant mental health services present, then a Tibetan and South Asian immigrant corridor, and now with cafes and bars moving in alongside the existing social services infrastructure. The neighborhood's economic story is about the limits of gentrification as a neighborhood policy. What happens to the people and services that were there before the money arrived? Queen Street West remains Parkdale's commercial spine, where Victorian storefronts now house cafes, galleries, vintage shops, and long-established immigrant businesses. The Parkdale Hall has served as a community gathering space for more than a century. The neighborhood's grand Victorian homes tell the story of Parkdale's origin as an affluent lakeside suburb before its later transformation. Roncevalles, Known as Roncevalles to locals, this neighborhood next to Hyde Park and also sharing border with Parkdale caters to those who would enjoy a more relaxed vibe. This is a traditionally Polish area, and you can still eat your fill of Eastern European treats along the main street. You also find vintage stores, design and gift boutiques, and eateries that cater to Ronce's many vegan and health-conscious residents. The major commercial strip of the neighborhood runs on Roncevalles Avenue. This intersection was quite a scene. On one end, it is Queen Street, on another, it is Queen's Way, and Queen Street West, and King Street West, and Roncevalles Avenue. The tight walkable commercial strip with Polish heritage roots has maintained its village scale and independent commercial character through decades of development pressure. There's surprisingly no subway stops here, only streetcars. And the absence of direct rapid transit access has contributed to its resistance to the kind of intensification that has hit transit-adjacent neighborhoods. The economic personality here is more stability by design. There are low-rise buildings, owner-operated stores, and very much community-anchored. It was so hot in Toronto on this day, so I had to make a pit stop at Ed's. This seems to be a neighborhood favorite, and they had so many flavors of ice cream, gelato, and sorbet. Definitely a place to check out. I think I like it here in Roncevalles. It seems like the kind of place where locals know one another and look out for each other. The corner shops at every block and fruits and flower shops also added a lot of character to this neighborhood. One thing I did notice was the high number of naturopathy and holistic health clinics here. And I think this may largely be as a result of its demography, catering to residents with high disposable incomes, comprehensive extended health benefits, and a strong preference for preventative holistic health care. I would say this is one neighborhood that still very much maintains its character. The Roncevalles Avenue in particular remains one of Toronto's best preserved neighborhood main streets, lined with independent cafes, bakeries, and local businesses. I think a question that needs to be had is, how do we balance the need to maintain a neighborhood's character when gentrification comes in? On the border of Roncevalles at Dundas Street West and Bloor Street West is the Junction. The Junction was a dry neighborhood until 2000, no liquor license for decades, due to a temperance-era bylaw, which interestingly protected its working-class character longer than neighboring areas. When the licenses finally came, the breweries and bars that moved in accelerated a transformation that was already underway. Now its commercial areas are bustling with vintage and antique stores, indie cafes, music stores, and restaurants. There are a ton of transit options that make it simple to commute downtown, and for families, there are several schools nearby. The neighborhood extends from St. Clair to Annette and from Runnymede to the West Toronto Diamond, where two main rail lines cross. This neighborhood takes its name from the historic railway junction where several major rail lines once converged. The West Toronto Rail Path follows the former industrial rail corridor and has become one of Toronto's most successful urban cycling routes. The historic brick commercial buildings along Dundas Street West remain the architectural backbone of the neighborhood. Independent breweries, cafes, and local retailers have largely replaced the manufacturing businesses that once defined the area. iPark is Toronto's largest public park and the economic anchor of the surrounding West End real estate market. Every block within walking distance of the park costs more because of it. The park spans nearly 400 acres, making it Toronto's largest public park. Every spring, the park's Japanese cherry blossoms attract hundreds of thousands of visitors. Grenadier Pond is the park's largest natural water feature and an important ecological habitat. The park's extensive trail network, sports facilities, and picnic areas illustrate how green space functions as essential urban infrastructure rather than simply recreational land. If you're new to the series, I recommend starting with the earlier episodes. In part 1, I explored the Toronto Islands, its past history, past economics, and explains why this incredible piece of waterfront looks the way it does today. Part 2 focuses on the downtown core and waterfront, exploring the city's financial center, harbourfront, Old Town, and Yorkville. Part 3 was about the University of Toronto and the annex to Kensington Market, Chinatown, Queen Street West, and up to Midtown. Part 4 was about the East End of Toronto. All the videos are linked in the description box. In the next episode, we're going into the other boroughs that make up Toronto. Thanks for watching and see you soon.